Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this February 6th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. We're glad that you're here with us this morning. Hey, sorry that we're getting started late. Had major tech faux pas going on, but we got it going, and we're here, and we're glad that you are with us. If you are interested in following us, finding our content, you can go to EOA.network. That takes you to a link tree where you can find our Facebook, Instagram, Roku, podcast, all of that information, EOA.network. And here in a little bit, we're going to have Elise from MeeMaws Kitchen. Elise and her husband, Derek, he's in the studio. And she's going to be with us and talk to us about the adventure that she's been having, the adventure that they've been having, I should say, in Union, Oregon, opening a restaurant called MeeMaws, and how that's kind of taken off. So she'll be with us here in just a little bit. How are you, man?
I'm proud of you. You made it all the way through the date and everything on a day where there was tech difficulties perfectly.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, something's got to go right, man.
Yeah. Let's kick it off with the EOU Chamber Choir and Music Department's performances this weekend. So we have a giveaway going on right now for 6 tickets, 2 tickets to each show. Friday at 7:30, Saturday at 3, Saturday at 7:30. That's this weekend. I'm going to give these away today. We have a lot of shares and a lot of likes on it, but not a lot of comments. And it's clearly in the description. It says comment what show you would rather go to, along with like or share if you want to win tickets. So there's not a lot of comments. So right now there's not a lot of competition, but there is a lot of likes and shares. So if you liked it and you shared it, go comment what show you want to go to. Otherwise, I can't. What if I gave away the tickets to Friday to somebody who can't go on Friday and they want to go on Saturday? So like I said, if you liked it or you shared it and you didn't comment, go back to that post and make sure you comment what show you want to go to, because the people that commented are the people that are going to be put into the drawing.
Yep, because we can't always see the shares.
No, me, and we, man. You, me, and we. That's going to be kind of cool, I think.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited. I don't generally go to that stuff, but I want to support Benny and his endeavors.
Well, and Benny, the director that's in the control room, he's got a solo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's gonna be all over social media.
They need to give him a guitar so I can play my Beavis and Butthead video of Benny, the teacher, the old hippie teacher with the peace sign shirt. I love that. That's my Benny solo right there. Yeah. Oh, Benny's also running this weekend. We'll talk about that more here in a little bit. But that's pretty cool too.
You want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit right here in LeGrand. The D&D Monster Manual 2024 is now available. In this new and improved 2024 Monster Manual, meet a monstrous menagerie of creatures for the 5th edition. Encounter iconic D&D favorites and a whole host of mighty new monsters. Let their stories, illustrations, and streamlined stats fuel your epic adventures. Hobby Habit, just for the fun of it. Let's start with girls basketball. LHS. In front of a pretty packed house on Tuesday night, the Tigers took on Ontario at home for senior night. It was awesome. This group of senior girls is a pretty tight one. They've been playing together since like 3rd grade. They have, they had the same coaches all the way through AAU, and they're looking to win a state championship. They beat Ontario on Tuesday night 79-15. And unfortunately, usually you wouldn't run the score up like that, but the way the computers work for the rankings in Oregon is so stupid. When you play a team that is number 30 in the state and you're number 5, you have to beat them by a lot of points, or you can actually move down in the rankings, which is just, OSAA needs to figure that out. It's frustrating. The girls are 14-3 overall. They're undefeated in the GOL, and they have the game of the year this Friday right here in LeGrand against Baker. They beat Baker in Baker in overtime, and they're going to take them on here Friday at 6, and this likely will decide who the GOL champion is this year for girls basketball. The LHS boys basketball team also hosted Ontario for senior night. After celebrating the seniors, the boys went on to a dominating 86-64 win over Ontario. It was cool. I always like it when Ontario comes because Kevin Attila is Ontario's head coach, and he is a LHS grad and EOU grad, and it's always good to see him. I wish we could find out a way to get him back over here and coaching in LeGrand. The boys are 6-14 overall, 2-2 in the GOL, and they also host Baker on Friday night. That game will tip off at 6:30. LHS boys wrestling is in Nissa tonight for a duel with the Bulldogs, and then they'll head to Ontario on Monday for their final duel of the season. The district tournament for the boys will be in LeGrand on February 22nd, with the finals live streamed right here on EOA Live. So check that out. That'll be the 22nd. It's a Saturday, I believe. It's right around the corner. LHS girls wrestling will have their district tournament right here in LeGrand as well on February 14th, with the finals live streamed right here on EOA Live as well. And as soon, like with these tournaments, it kind of just depends on how the tournament goes, what time the event will start. But I'll make sure that we're streaming a good 15 minutes before the actual finals start, and let you guys have a little bit of time to get involved and get on your phones or whatever you're going to watch it on. Roku. EOU men's and women's basketball is at home this weekend. They host Walla Walla tomorrow. The tip-off for the women is at 11 on a Friday. It's so weird when we play Walla Walla because of the time. They're not allowed to play at night because they're 7th day. There's some rules. I don't know exactly. But an 11 o'clock game on a Friday in college is weird for a small college. But that's what's happening tomorrow. 11 o'clock for the women, 1 o'clock for the men. And then on Saturday, they host Lewis and Clark State College. The women tip off at 3. The men tip off at 5. Both teams are in the hunt to make the CCC tournament. So get up to Quinn and support these guys. EOU track and field, I'm excited about this one. I was so excited about this one, I started talking about it last week like it was happening last weekend. But they host the Luthorn Invite this weekend, finally, up at the field house. They're going to run like the mixed relays and a couple of the throws tomorrow. But the big day is Saturday, all day. They're going to be having events going on. There's quite a few Mounties looking to qualify for national. And then the men are currently ranked 13th in the country, and the women are ranked 18th, with about 3 weeks until the Indoor National Championships in Gainesville, Florida, February 27th through March 1st. Get up there and support these guys. Benny runs the mile on Saturday. I don't think it's some of these senior Mounties last home meet in the indoor season. I mean, they have a last chance qualifier the following weekend, because in indoor you don't have a district championship. You just qualify for nationals with times and distances. So they have a last chance qualifier the following weekend, next weekend, at EOU as well. But some of these guys, this is going to be their last time performing inside the new field house. The EOU men's and women's wrestling teams will take on Southern in Crook County. So this is that deal that we bartered with Crook County about, one of the matches every year, because we wrestle Southern Oregon twice. So 1 year Southern will give up one of their home match. 1 year we'll give up our home match, and we do it at different high schools to generate buzz for college wrestling. So this year it's supposed to be at Southern, but they give up their home match, and the Mounties will take on Southern Oregon University at Crook County High School in Central Oregon. And that's a huge wrestling school already. And I've been on that trip, and the last time I went there, I live streamed it, and that place was packed because we have a lot of EOU kids that wrestled at Crook County. So it's really cool. EOU softball was supposed to start their season at home this weekend. Doubt that's going to happen. They've already moved it, actually. It's going to be in Hermiston. I'm so sick of that. Like, it's just, man, come on. EOU needs to just do the thing and invest in their softball program and get them a turf field. Please, just do it. They're nationally ranked. They won the CCC last year. Figure out a way to get this team on turf. And I know there's a lot of big projects. We got to get a baseball field built up there, but just let's figure out a way how to get these ladies playing on turf so they can have home games. I mean, these are obviously exhibition games against Central Washington, but it's still, people turn up for EOU softball, and there's a buzz about EOU softball, so they got to get turf built up there like soon. Finally, EOU baseball kicks off their season today in Gilbert, Arizona, with a 4-game set over the next 3 days versus Park University. You can go to eousports.com for game times and more information. AM Sports Report brought to you by Happy Habit. Pretty sure if your dream is to become the ultimate dungeon master, Joe and his team have the books and dice to get you there. Hobby Habit, just for the fun of it in LeGrand.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Lots going on.
Yeah, it's a busy weekend.
Yeah.
This is the weekend I thought I was going to have last weekend.
Right.
Yeah. I was excited about it because I don't get to take pictures of track and field very often. And
I've not been in the field house yet.
The lighting in there sucks. I always look at things in terms of lighting now because especially sports like.
It'd be kind of fun to go up there and take some video.
It's cool. It's nice in there. It's really nice actually. Yeah. And you can take level pics, or they also have like an upstairs with like a balcony. So I was thinking I might shoot some pics from up there too.
Cool.
Maybe try to take. We'll see. I don't know. I have a lot of people that I want to get pictures of this weekend because I don't get to do track and field very often, especially indoor. So I'm gonna be like bouncing.
Yeah, and track and field is hard because it's like. Yeah.
It's like the state tournament wrestling.
You don't really know what event is next until they're announcing it. And
yeah. Well, thankfully I have
a schedule
in with a couple of the track athletes, and they're hooking me up with like lane assignments. But it's like wrestling. Wrestling, I'm on my phone all day long on track wrestling, figuring out what mat the state tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's 12 mats, something like that. So you're like just looking at track wrestling all day and
figuring out.
We got a LeGrand kid. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, and it's all that state. It's all level. Yeah. Last year was my son too, so that even added some more into it. But it's all level. It's boys and girls too at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a mess. Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Well, hey, our weather camp's down right now, but let's look at the weather graphic and kind of see what's going on here. So 21 tonight, and it looks like. It looks like it's going to be snowy.
Oh, yay.
Snowy through Saturday. Sunday is supposed to be a little bit more cloudy. But it looks like we're 70% chance of snow tomorrow, 65% chance on Saturday.
Yeah, it's snowing.
Yeah.
It's snowing.
Yeah. So
hopefully it doesn't snow too much that all the track athletes can't get here.
Well, and I mean, in the show up at EOU, they were, they got family coming in for that and stuff, and so. Of
course, we have a mild winter all the way until the big weekend.
Yeah.
We got basketball games here this weekend. We got Baker at LeGrand on Friday. Yeah. You got the EOU show. Like, hopefully, I mean, I know the 84 is closed this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it was slick. Last night it was slicker than snot out there. Like,
you
walk outside and just.
Yep.
I need to get me some of those spikes, like the rubber. Put them on my shoes. I'm getting too old, man. I can't break a hip or something.
Yeah. All righty. Well, hey. So glad you guys are here with us. Elise Stevens from MeeMaws Kitchen in Union. She'll be with us right after this. Just look at it,
Okay.
All right, we're back. How are you, Elise?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So we had a chance. We met the other day for the first time at Rotary. You came and spoke at our Rotary Club, and really glad to be able to connect with you and have you here today. So yeah, we've heard of what's going on. I mean, I think everybody has kind of heard of, you know, kind of the movement that's been going on around MeeMaws hometown kitchen?
Yeah.
Is that what you got? Is that what you call it? Yeah. And so, but let's just kind of go back. So tell me, kind of give me a thumbnail version of your life and where you're from and how you got to LeGrand, or how you got to Union County and Union. Yeah.
Well, my family moved to Union County in 2020, and my husband started a construction business, and I was a teacher for many years, and been doing social media for a few years. And I was taken against my will and held hostage when I was 21. So I share my story on social media, but I never wanted to profit off of my income from social media. And so I started a restaurant, but I immediately realized that I wanted to take the prices off my menu and just give my food away for free. I started using my social media income to fund my restaurant, and then blessings from others. So we are a nonprofit. We do receive donations from people all over the world, but we just feed everybody. We don't expect anybody to pay. There's no prices on our menu, and you will find our menu will tell you that no one is expected to pay, but you can leave what you feel led to leave. And that's it. I just want to feed people. I just love people, and I want to feed them.
So let's go back. Yeah, you kind of you did a good now.
You said a thumbnail.
I did. So where were you raised at, though?
So I was raised in McMinnville, Oregon.
Okay.
My husband and I both were born and raised in McMinnville, Oregon.
And did you guys know each other?
We met in high school. A mutual friend of ours actually told us both that she knew who we would end up marrying and introduced us, but we were never really interested.
Okay.
And then I actually moved to LeGrand in 2006, and I ran the video store out in Union. But I moved back to McMinnville, and I met a gentleman I met a man, and he kidnapped me and held me hostage while I was pregnant with my oldest daughter. And I escaped by the grace of God, and I met my husband again. I reconnected with him.
Okay, so so is that kind of when that, I don't know, tell us a little bit about that story, because you skip over it.
Well, I get a little worried.
Whatever you're comfortable sharing, but that's kind of what kind of pushed you into the social media.
It is.
Okay, yeah, so tell us just a little bit about the story. Yeah.
So for 5 months, I was held hostage in a 10-by-10 room by my ex and his mom. I was only allowed to come out if I was cooking or cleaning for them.
And where was this at?
That was in Puyallup, Washington.
Okay.
So they actually moved me 350 miles in a U-Haul. And I was there for 5 months, and it was literally one of the scariest parts of my life. But it made me really bitter and angry, and I thought I was the only one that had ever dealt with something like that for years. I just didn't talk about it. I hid it. I just kept it to myself. And then in 2022, we had a viral video go viral on social media. It got 6.9 million views.
And what was that video?
It was just a 7-second video of my husband actually carrying a table. And it said, 13 years ago, I hired this man for $100 a night, and now I have 2 dogs, 3 kids, a mortgage, and I'm broke. And it was literally just a joke. I did not expect it.
Now, did you have a social media presence before that?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Like, I had maybe a few hundred followers. You know, I wasn't really stressing about, it wasn't a dream of mine to become a social media influencer. I just made that video, and a company in Bristol, UK called us. They bought our story, and we have been published 45 times across the world. We were published in front page of a magazine in the UK on the Queen's 70th Jubilee.
And the story that was published was about what?
About how I hired my husband as my bodyguard.
Oh, okay.
And we were actually listed as the real life Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner. because
That's a compliment to both of you, right?
yeah, I guess. But for years, so for 2 years, I just told my story. I had no clue.
So your microphone, yeah,
Oh.
but see your hand there, yeah, just put your hand, you're
Okay.
good, just keep going.
I had no clue that I was going to be doing a restaurant with my social media. I mean, I told my story. I would make a little bit of income, didn't really know what I was going to do with it. And then in 2022, my dear grandma told me, if you are doing this for the wrong reasons, God will humble you. And I was actually hacked and lost all of my social media presence and all the money I had saved. And I said, touche, God humbled me. I walked away from social media. I planned on never doing social media again. And I opened my restaurant. And after 4 weeks.
Okay, now wait, so let's go back.
Okay.
So slow down. So tell me about, so that place was rented. I mean, it was vacant at the time. Yeah, kind of tell the story about, you got to tell the story about how you got into that particular place. Yeah.
Okay, so I was hacked and I was just at home really searching on, all right, Lord, what do you want me to do next in life? Part of my story is that I was actually stabbed in the abdomen while making lunch for my ex, in the kitchen, and I was put into acute kidney failure for 2 weeks and hospitalized. So I never went into the kitchen. I never cooked for my kids. They knew that I wouldn't even make them chocolate chip cookies. I did not go into the kitchen. And I woke up one day and I looked at my dear husband and I said, I'm going to make sourdough. And he laughed at me. I said, God's telling me to make sourdough.
Now, were you guys living in Union at the
Yeah,
time?
we had lived in Union.
Okay.
It was just honestly, it was in March of last year, March of 2024. I
Okay.
woke up and I said, I'm going to make sourdough. And within 2 weeks, I had my first sourdough loaf. And I started just giving sourdough out to anybody and everybody I
Because
could.
sourdough has to sour
Yes.
for a bit, and it took 2 weeks to.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a fermenting process. I made my own starter. I did the whole process on my own. And then
Okay.
I was like, I'm
And
making
why were you inspired to do that?
because God told me to.
Okay. All right. Okay.
You will find that MeeMaws is God's restaurant, and I only do what God tells me to do. So I started making sourdough. I started giving it to people in my town. I started dropping it off on people's doorsteps. And that turned into me making dinner for a Bible study. And after about 6 weeks of making dinner for the Bible study, I woke up and I told my husband, I'm going to start a restaurant. And he again laughed at me.
Okay, so,
We had
so now had you been a chef
No.
or had any cooking?
No.
Okay, it was just okay.
God
but-
told me to start a restaurant.
But you found some joy from giving.
I did.
And so, okay.
It was just about feeding people. And I told him, I said, there's a building in Union and I'm going to start a restaurant in it. And it's owned by Walt Berkshire. And everybody in town knows him. And everybody kind of said, Walt won't rent to you. And I was like, okay. And
But this is the same shop, though, that you had worked as the video.
No, this is
store?
actually, it's the Rexall store across the street from the market. So
Okay.
it used to be a restaurant in 2020 when we opened, or when we moved here.
Yeah.
But it's been sitting empty for 3 years, just
Okay.
sitting
Okay.
empty. So I called up Walt and kind of told him what I wanted to do, that I wanted to start a restaurant. My mom had owned a bagel shop in Union years prior, and Walt knew that it was a successful bagel shop.
Okay.
I kind of told him I wanted to do the same idea as my mom, and Walt handed me the keys and said, let's do it. He worked with my husband to be able to do some work instead of paying the first couple months. And then my husband's like, okay, we have a building, but we still have no money to start this restaurant. And I said, it'll happen. And a few days later, a woman handed me a $5,000 check and told me to go open my Jesus Cafe.
Well, okay, so amazing.
Amazing.
But why was she had she known about your story or yeah?
No, my husband did a small construction work job for her.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that I wanted to start a restaurant that was God's restaurant and not mine. And she just when he went to charge her for the restaurant or for the work, which was only $500.
Yeah.
She handed him a $5,000 check and said, "Tell your wife to open her Jesus Cafe."
Wow.
And that was it. She doesn't, she never expected it back. She's even told us it was a gift. I don't want it back.
Wow.
And we were open within 4 weeks.
And I want to say that you weren't a nonprofit. There was no tax deductible thing, you know, because I mean, a lot of times people get hung up on that.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not blaming them for doing so, but a lot of people give because there's some tax benefit to doing that. This person just gave because she was moved to give.
She was moved to give.
Yeah.
And then after about 4 weeks, she came in and told me I needed to sit down in a chair. And I said, okay. And she said, "I have to tell you, I'm a Christian woman, but that check came from God." And I said, "Why? What do you say?" And she goes, "I didn't even know your husband's name when I wrote it on the check because most people know him as Big Red. But she wrote his full legal name. Didn't even know it." And then she said when the check cashed, something from a few years ago had bounced back into her account, and she was only missing about $99. Like the way the bank worked. So the check cleared, but she only was out about $100.
Oh, wow.
And she said that check was from God. That check was not from me. And I don't want any of that money back.
Wow.
And I said, okay. Like, I mean, I don't know what to say when people say stuff like that to me. I just smile because people don't understand that God does work like that when you let him. And so she is an amazing person in our life. Still to this day, we have a relationship with her, but she doesn't financially support our restaurant or anything. That was just a one-time gift from her.
Okay, so you have 5K, but do you have tables or chairs or kitchen stuff or, I mean, I'm trying to think of, yeah.
So the restaurant, the building that we took over was a prior restaurant, so we
Oh.
just used everything that came with that restaurant.
Okay.
I did buy a double set of ovens that were used from a man in Redmond. He sold them to me for $500, which was amazing price. Other than that, I didn't have to buy any supplies. It was just about food, cleaning, paint, stuff like that. And so we were up and running. We became a restaurant on June 5th, 2024. So we opened last year during Stock Show.
Wow, okay. And it's called MeeMaws
Hometown Kitchen.
Hometown. So why MeeMaws?
So my middle daughter, my mother was an alcoholic and a very abusive person. I did not have much of a mother figure growing up, and being a mother myself was something I always feared I would fail. And a couple years ago, my middle daughter started calling me MeeMaw randomly, and I stopped it. I said, "Honey, you call your grandma MeeMaw, and I am not your grandma." And she said, "But Mom, you love people in a way that I can't explain, and you're just my MeeMaw." And so I became my daughter's MeeMaw, and then all my kids started calling me MeeMaw, and then everybody in town started calling me MeeMaw. And so I was like, it's just MeeMaws. Like, I want people to feel like they're walking back into their grandma's kitchen.
Okay.
Is my goal with MeeMaws. I want people to feel like they can come there and there is no judgment. There is no care if you can afford it or not. I just want you to eat. And a lot of people literally come there just to sit and talk. They just need somewhere to go where they can dump, and they know it's not going to be judged. They know it's not going to be spread around. They know that it stays there. We really just want to be that safe place for everybody in the community.
Okay.
And we want to recreate that hub where people go to connect and scratch each other's backs and then live their life. Like, it's just our goal.
So you open up and you have a menu. What kinds of things are you serving, and you're charging for that? So kind of so talked about that, and then how you morphed into not charging. Yeah.
So to begin with, we served, I specialize in sourdough obviously, but I make MeeMaws specialty rolls is what we call them, and they're sourdough with meat and cheese, and then they're rolled up and baked like a cinnamon roll. So they're savory rolls, and they're large. They're large, and then
but no cinnamon.
no cinnamon. So I have a cheeseburger roll, which is hamburger and cheddar rolled up in a garlic herb dough and topped with lettuce, tomato, onion, pickles, and a homemade burger sauce.
Okay.
Or a pizza roll or a chicken bacon ranch roll. The same concept, just all rolled up, topped with different stuff, and it's delicious.
Now, where did you get? Is that happening out there? And
No, that was God.
Okay.
That
You just like, okay, I got the sourdough. What can I roll into it?
Pretty much. Like I was making sourdough cinnamon rolls all the time, and then he overcooked this huge ham. He cooked this huge, like 20-pound ham, and I was putting ham in everything I could think of. And I told him, I said, I'm going to roll up some ham and cheddar and Dijon mustard in this sourdough and bake it because I don't know what else to do. And he told me it would be gross. He said, don't do that. It'd be gross. And I said, well, I'm going to try it anyways. And I did it, and everybody loved it. Everybody ate it. And so I just started mixing any meat, cheese, and rolling it up in the dough. And after about 3 weeks of being open, we had a little boy who was sitting in there at the table for 6 hours straight. And I finally walked up to him and I said, hey, bud, where's your mom? And he said, she's at the bar. And I said, are you hungry? And he said, I don't have money. I said, that's not what I asked you. I said, are you hungry? And he said, yeah, I'm hungry. So I went back and I made him one of my rolls. And he told me he'd never had homemade ranch. And he'd never had, like, he was blown away at this homemade meal on a plate for me. And I just went home and I prayed and I prayed and I woke up and I told my husband, I said, I am going to take all the prices off my menu. I will not charge anybody else anymore for food. And I'm going to use my social media to fund this restaurant. And my husband wanted me to wait a year. He said, that's a horrible business plan. This is not going to work. And I said, okay, we'll wait. So we waited a week. We didn't have one customer come in at all. And I looked at my husband and I said, are you ready to trust this process? And he said, yeah. I mean, we can't get any worse. We're already not getting customers. So I took the prices off my menu, and that next weekend we made more money than we've ever made since we've been opened.
Because people donated.
Because people donate. They come in and, the kids in Union all eat free. That is something that I strive really hard. The bullying in Union is bad. As an ex-teacher, I was a teacher for 12 years. I was a special needs teacher, and I even worked out at the school for a little while. And the bullying is really bad. Like, it is really bad out there. And I was having kids that were bringing their cold lunch down to MeeMaws and sit for lunch because they didn't get bullied at MeeMaws, but they got bullied at school. And so I just said, no more. Like, no kid has to pay here. Like, we're all accepted. We're all loved. I don't care if you have money and you don't. We're all on the same wavelength. And now from the time we open to the time we close, we have kids from all walks of life in there playing together, hanging out, not bullying each other. And these are kids I personally know bully each other at school. But they don't at MeeMaws because we're all on the same playground. We're all on the same, we don't have any money. There's no separation. It's just everybody's equals there.
So, but you have some customers too that pay way more. I mean,
do.
Yeah. So, I mean, the financial, I'm still with him like, okay, financially, how does this work? Yeah.
So I often say that God pays our bills, and I mean that wholeheartedly.
Right.
I never know what's coming in or who's paying. We have a donation box for cash, and we have QR codes that people can either purchase our merchandise. They can just donate if they want to donate. Now we are a nonprofit, so any and all donations are tax write-off. We are actually putting together a program because our long-term goal is to open a small MeeMaws in communities all over the United States, under 3,000 people. So we are in the process of opening our second location in La Crosse, Oregon, which has 250 people, or La Crosse, Washington, which has about 250 people. But our goal is to find businesses within the communities that will monthly do a monthly donation or a subscription. We'll advertise for them on our social media. We'll advertise for them inside MeeMaws, but it will keep it so that even on low months of donations, we can still keep the doors open and we can still keep the food on the table. And our other project right now is becoming farm to table, so relying really truly on just farmers from the communities to supply the restaurant. So like produce farmer or a pig farmer or a beef farmer wants a tax write-off, they could donate a whole cow or they could donate a pig and show the community that if we lean on each other, anything is possible. But in today's world, everybody runs to the big box store to buy what they need, when in reality, our neighbors pretty much make everything we need. Like you go to a farmer's market in the weekend, right? Or you go to a Christmas bazaar and you can get almost anything you need.
Right.
But then the rest of the months, we're just running to the big box stores, and we're forgetting that we have people around us that also have that same gift.
Right.
And so I just want to show these small communities again to lean on each other.
Right.
Become self-sufficient among your community.
So as this is kind of taken off and people are paying what they can, and then are you still having to use your social media income to keep the restaurant going? Or I mean, kind of how is that working out for you?
We still use our social media income to keep going. We have poured everything we have into this restaurant in the last 6 months. Like I'm to the point that we are actually in the process of evaluating selling our home to keep doing this for people, because God has shown us that what we have done has changed so many people's hearts and attitudes in Union. When we first opened, we had a lot of people that were super bitter and angry about what we were doing, and we would get turned into the health department, and we would get told we were doing illegal things, and we were told that people did not like it.
Why were they angry or bitter?
I think it's kindness. Like, kindness just isn't in the world anymore. Like, so you come in and they assumed we wanted something from them. They assumed we were doing this for something, for our own personal gain. And so they really weren't sure about it and didn't like it. But recently, in the last probably 3 months, we've seen a huge change. Teachers have come to us and told us, thank you for doing what you're doing. We're seeing a change in the schools, a change in the students, a change in their attitudes. We've had sports coaches come to us and tell us, thank you. You know, our teams are working together better as a team this year. And a lot of it is they're hearing that, well, we're going to go hang out at MeeMaws after sports. So
the community was skeptical.
Yes.
Is that a better word? Maybe. I mean,
skeptical.
yeah. I mean, they did. But so I mean, since it's taking you a little bit of time for people to really understand your true intentions? Has that kind of come through?
I believe people are starting to see that we truly don't want anything other than just to love people.
Yeah.
And they're starting to see that. But it's so cool to see that, because you see these people, like, we've lived in Union for 4 years, and you see these people that every time you've seen them, they've had a scowl on their face, or they won't even look at you. And now they're like coming in, and this is so cool. And they're talking to people that maybe they wouldn't have normally talked to. And it's softening the hearts of these people. And it softened our hearts too. I mean, like, even to begin with, we were like, oh, what are we doing? And it's a whole change. And to be the vessel that God picked to start this change is so cool. it is honestly, I had a company actually from Tennessee. They own 3 pay what you can buses where they go around and they feed people in Tennessee pizza, and it's a pay what you can system. And they called me and they said, you know, we started this little company. They said, but what you are doing for this whole country is just blowing my mind. Like, because I literally have people all over the world cheering on Union right now. Like, I mean, people from all over the world are sending donations for Union, for this little tiny community is making a change for people all over the world. And it's just so cool to watch. We actually went down and fed the fire evacuees in LA. Between us and some other food vendors, we fed about 20,000 fire evacuees. And, you know, to see, a lady said to me, she said, you come from one of the smallest communities in all the United States, and here you are in one of the biggest towns, and you fed more people than people that live here.
Wow.
Like,
so talk, how, from a practical standpoint, do you have a trailer that you just put a bunch of stuff in? I mean, how did you how did you manage that? I mean, how
to
did
go
you,
to LA?
Yeah. I mean, because you don't have a food trailer like a Becky's Burger Wagon or I mean, it's but
My dear husband had a construction trailer. He's been doing construction for 4 years, and when I opened MeeMaws, he quit doing construction. So he actually, in the matter of a day and a half, went out, cleaned out his construction trailer, removed all the logos off of his construction trailer, and then JD Customs here in La Grande actually put our MeeMaws logo and everything on our trailer in the just quick. We could not have gone down to LA and fed the people if it wasn't for this community. Like, Legacy Ford donated us the truck to drive down and deliver
pull the trailer.
and pull the trailer.
Yeah.
Didn't even bat an eye. Like, we went in and we're like, we want to do this. Would you help us? And he handed us the keys and said, go. People from the community called me up, donated money, donated finances. So we took a large trailer full of water, toiletries, clothes, and then the back of the truck had ice chests full of food. And I connected with some street vendors that were down there that had been cooking food for the evacuees for free in a parking lot in the Santa Anita Parkway for a few days. And I called them and I said, I have food for you and I'm on my way. And they were like, okay, like skeptical, like this random person. We showed up Monday morning, and I couldn't find anybody that was cooking. Like, I couldn't see anybody that was cooking. So I was like, well, I'm just going to be nosy. So I just start walking around, and I found out they actually were out of food. They said, we're not cooking. We don't have any food. And I said, oh, wait, hold on. And I went back to the truck, and I just brought ice chest after ice chest of food to them. And they just started crying. They said, we've been out of food. And
so did you guys have cooking stuff in the trailer, or mainly just food?
Just food. I didn't actually cook.
And then the other vendors that were there, then okay.
Yeah, I didn't actually cook. I'm not licensed to cook in California.
Okay.
So I literally just supplied the food for them to cook.
Wow.
I would go to the Costco's and the Walmarts around there. I would make a post. Hey guys, I need money for so many more days or so many more people, and then donations would pile in, and I would take all those donations. I'd go down to Walmart. I'm really transparent. I always show my receipts. I always show you guys what I'm doing. It's all videotaped and it's all on there. I do interviews with people that we're feeding. Like, I'm very transparent about where your money is going, how it's being used.
Yeah. So talk for a minute about, because you mentioned this at Rotary, that the people that you were serving were not the rich people that were displaced out of their homes. Who were they?
They were the people that were clean those homes, and the landscapers and the house cleaners and the maids and the pool cleaners. They all lost their jobs. And in turn of losing their jobs, they were then losing their houses also. And then there was people that were sitting in their house as a retirement plan. Like, they had full intention of selling their home when they retired, and that was how they were going to live, and now they're gone. We talked to one gentleman down there. He was a landscaper for the people that lost their homes. His wife was a house cleaner, and they didn't have any money now. Like, nothing. They had nothing. They had no jobs. They had spent years building these tracks and these businesses, and they're gone.
Wow.
They're gone. And so we actually blessed that gentleman with $1,000. And he told us, he said, I actually prayed and asked God to send someone to bless me, and I didn't believe God was real. I never thought it would happen. And he goes, but you just proved to me that God is real. And he still texts us every day that he's a Christian and he's doing this, and that's not at all why we do it, but it is so cool to see that work and that happen.
Wow. So can you think back on a particular moment? Because I mean, I've been involved in ministry for 40 years in various ways and so on and so forth. But for me, there was a moment when I did something, I felt used by God in a certain manner, and once you experience that, it's like you cannot shake it. It's like it changes you forever. Can you think of a time in this recent journey of starting the kitchen or before when it was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to invest in.
Last year, in September of 2023, I felt really heavy on my heart that we were supposed to sell everything and travel. It was before MeeMaws started. It was just this overwhelming feeling. And I was told by a pastor, he told me, I love your ambition, but I think you should ground yourself in the Word before you do this. And honestly, I had never read the Bible. So he was right. Like, I was like, maybe you're right. So I started actually grounding myself in the Word, and I get those moments where I see God using me every single day now that I have said. So I got down on my knees and I said, Lord, I surrender it all to you, all of it. I never know how my bills are going to be paid. Like, I surrender it all. And it's not just one event that made me realize I wanted to keep doing this. It was literally, I can sit back today and be like, all those little steps were God's path for me. And it just, honestly, the first time I pulled that loaf of sourdough bread out of the oven, I thought, for 12 years, I have allowed a man to control me and stop me from doing what God has asked me to do, because it was the trauma my ex put me through that kept me out of the kitchen.
Right.
And so I just made a promise to my family and to myself, I would never stop doing what God has asked me to do. And that is why I don't take any possession of MeeMaws. There's not an apostrophe in our name, because I don't believe I own it. I believe God does. And online I will say, this is MeeMaws, God's Pay What You Can restaurant. That's what our trailer says. It is just, I really got to a point where I realized the only thing ever consistent in my life was Jesus. And I wanted to live for him.
Wow, that's awesome. I see a conflict in the way social media is all about a person and or somebody's story, or who, I mean, you kind of dove into that way more than we have, but I mean, we live our lives trying to harvest that in some manner for the sake of our businesses who are sponsoring us and so on and so forth, but at the same time, the thing that I see God calling you to is about God. It's not about you. And so there's this conflict that I'm sure that you constantly face, where you get a lot of attention for what it is that you're doing, but you're immediately wanting, well, but it's not me, but it's God. I mean, talk a little bit and what happens in Christian communities and it's just kind of natural, and that is the more humble somebody is, the more attention that they sometimes get. And so then that becomes a little bit of a conflict also. I mean, I talk about that a little bit. And I mean, how do you deal with that?
It's hard. It's hard. I get comments all the time of, this isn't you, this isn't God, this is you.
Right.
You need to take credit. And it's right. Every human has a choice on what action they're going to be making. And it was my choice to open MeeMaws. It was my choice to do these things. But it's also, every choice you make is driven either by the Holy Spirit or a non-Holy Spirit. And it's our choice on what vehicle we get in and let drive us every day. And so, yes, it is me, but it's God's driving my car. Like,
right.
He's pulling me through these situations. Like, I'll be honest with you, like, when we first opened, there's not been a month that I have had the money to make sure that MeeMaws stays open and our house does not, and that I can pay my house bills. There's not been 1 month. And I've prayed, like, God, what do I do? Like, why I keep, like, you tell me to keep MeeMaws open, but I'm not even able to pay my house
right.
bills. Like, what am I doing, Lord? And we're now like, we're going to sell our house. That's it. That's what God wants us to do. We're going to sell our house. We're going to buy a travel trailer, and we're going to travel this world, and we're going to the United States, and we're going to spread the love of MeeMaws all over the United States. And that's what we're doing. Like, God didn't supply me the money each month to pay my mortgage because he didn't want me to own that house. And that is the point that we've gotten to.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing to admit you may have lost something or failed or and what I've tried to explain to my kids is, we as humans like to make our own plan and think that, you know, we're doing the right thing, but God sometimes has a different plan. And when you stop long enough to look back, you can usually see that that was actually God's plan, and it's okay.
Yeah. So how do you check yourself, or is Derek part of that check process of, like, I mean, so when you're come to a decision, and, you know, I mean, you constantly have to be evaluating, you know, what's the best direction to go here, you know, and is am I inclined to go where I want to go, or am I inclined to go to where I think God wants me to go, or am I inclined to go where God wants me to go? I mean, how do you sort through that?
Well, everything comes with 3 witnesses. You have to have 3 witnesses with everything. And witnesses isn't just humans. It's also comes from God's word or just random humans.
Yeah.
And so we don't do anything in our path unless God makes it very clear, and it is told to us 3 times specifically. Like, I don't know how to explain it. So, like, when I started to make bread, I was like, why would I make bread? And then I was reading the Bible, and God took me to this verse that literally was a bread recipe in the Bible. And then a friend of mine was like, have you ever considered making sourdough? And I was like, okay, Lord, this is 3 times in my life.
So you're looking for those confirmations. Yeah.
There's always 3 witnesses. And then we also have about 4 pastors that we always run everything by in the community. We talk with them, and, you know, if one of them is like, whoa, you guys are off the wall, maybe you should slow down, we say, okay, let's evaluate it. Like, will you sit down with us and evaluate it? But I honestly don't believe, like, we don't get that very often, even from these pastors.
Yeah.
They're like, you can see that this is God. This is, there's things that have happened in our life that there's no explanation. For instance, I told you this, I gave away my minivan. Like, I called him up and I said, I'm giving away my car. He's like, okay. That was our only vehicle to get over the pass to get food supplies from MeeMaws. Like, I said, I'm giving it away. And he goes, what are we going to do? And I said, God will provide. He's told me he will provide. And I mean, for 3 weeks, we drove my daughter's broke down Toyota pickup that had no shocks over the pass to get groceries for MeeMaws. And he's like, people all over were like, I thought God was going to provide. I thought God was going to provide. I kept getting comments like that. I received a $9,000 check in the mail 3 weeks later to go buy a new car. God provided. It may not be in our time or when we think he's going to, but he provided. So I do stuff and God provides. Like, and then people will be like, well, I can't argue with you anymore. That was obviously God. And it's like, so it's just gotten to a point when you surrender it all, you can tell when it's God and when it's not. Like, you can just, that relationship, it's just there. You just know.
So tell us about your kids. How old are they and how have they adapted to this?
So we have 3 kids. We have a 16-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a soon-to-be 12-year-old. Our 16-year-old, we actually just had a conversation with her yesterday. I was not always the nicest mom. Like, my trauma really stopped me from being a good mom to her. And she herself even said, I'm not quite used to this, Mom. Like I have to take time, and like you're too nice. Like you've gone. And I explained to her, I said, I'm not changing, so you can like trust me. And so she's probably the one that has been the hardest with like what's happening, because she was a little bit older. She saw me go through the trauma. She went through the trauma with me. She's seen it all. But when I told her that we're selling our house and traveling, she was super excited. She's like, I can't wait. She wants to be an architect. She wants to go around and see all the buildings. She thinks it's great what God's doing in our life. Our middle daughter, she got a little upset that everybody in the world started calling me MeeMaw. She was like, that's my name for you. You're my MeeMaw. And I'm like, but it's, but for the most part, our kids are on fire for what we're doing. They can see as much as we can see. We're very transparent and open with them about even the finances. Like, we're very open with them about, well, God didn't supply the money for that, so we're not going to do it anymore. Or I think parents don't realize that kids are smarter than they are, and that they can understand a lot more than we give them credit for. The kids actually love it. They get a little annoyed at the kids at school because they're always like, when's MeeMaws opening? And what's MeeMaws doing? They're like, call my mom. I don't know. But they're great kids.
So if you travel, then what's the plan with MeeMaws in Union?
So I have already hired a crew for the MeeMaws in Union. It's been planned from the time we opened it. God has shown me that I will open MeeMaws all over the United States. I have people all over the United States that own cafes that want me to come and just bring my concept there. They'll give me the building, they just want my concept there. So we have 2 women right now that are taking over the kitchen at MeeMaws, and I am looking for some support staff, like waitresses and stuff like that. But it will just be ran by them, managed by somebody, my assistant that I've hired to kind of run the local ones here. And they'll just keep growing.
Wow.
Just keep growing.
Wow. All right. So, and you recently did jump through the nonprofit hoops, right? So talk a little bit. In November of last year?
So we are a nonprofit registered with the state of Oregon as of November 2024. We are still waiting for our paperwork to come back from the federal government, but we have a fiscal sponsor who is doing our grants and everything is still a tax write-off. Like it will be retro dated back to November 2024. So anything and everything is a tax write-off right now. We are a religious nonprofit. We do not claim to be a church. I don't want to be a church. I believe that the church is the people, and that we're just a building for fellowship. So, but we are a religious nonprofit.
Okay. Wow. Man, what a story.
It's been less than a year. I mean, people don't realize it's been literally
know,
less than
I
a
know,
year
that's
since
kinda- yeah.
and it's all been God. I mean, I just literally I wake up every day and I say, "All right, God, what do you want me to do today?"
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't ever get stressed. I don't ever worry. If something doesn't work out, then it wasn't meant to be, and we move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's just my mentality.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
You're welcome.
Just to share with us, and we wanted to get connected with you and just haven't had that opportunity, and so no, what a great story. Yeah.
Real fast,
Yeah.
while we're here, talk about how people can support you.
So MeeMaws.com, there's ways to donate on MeeMaws.com. There's actually you can do a weekly, bi-weekly, or a monthly donation or a one-time donation on MeeMaws.com. We also have a link tree.
It's in somebody posted it in the comments.
Yeah, you can have the link tree. You can buy stickers there. You can buy merchandise there. We have if we have a random fundraiser, like when we went to LA, you have to keep up on us because we're moving pretty quick. So I mean, the LA thing was hey, we're going to LA and I need $5,000 in 24 hours. And I had $10,000 in 24 hours. So the link tree is really the best way to keep up on what we're doing next, because I will just put the fundraiser for what we need right now. Realistically, that is the best is Linktree, and that Linktree will even take you to our MeeMaws.com if you want to do the monthly subscription. We are getting a sponsorship letter written up right now. We'll take it around to the businesses and see if we can get some monthly sponsorships from the businesses on top of it. And then our social media, all of our social media is also on our Linktree, and interacting with our social media brings us income, and we don't have to ask for as many donations. So that is how I ultimately would like to do it. I don't like to take donations from people. I would ultimately like to show people that if you actually just interact, comment, share, follow along with our social media, then our income raises. Literally, if 8,000 people share one of my pictures, I make $1,300 on it. So if I post 10 pictures, I mean, it's realistic that it could just be on social media too.
Wow.
Couple comments. Pat Murphy Rogers says, California is my home state, and my heart was so sad. You made a difference for them. Angelica Lowe says hello from Texas. And Genesis Wellness says, go buy a sticker. Donation only.
Yeah. Thank you,
So
Genesis
that means you can
Wellness.
just go to the website through the link tree, get a sticker, and just say, hey, I'm going to throw $1 or $10 or 50 cents or whatever.
Mm-hmm. There's no limit. There's no minimum or maximum for the stickers. We had one lady that bought one for $50. We've had somebody buy one for $2.38. I will tell you, I do not look at the names of the people that are donating. I do not give recognition to the people that are donating. I say thank you, but I do not want to know who is donating, because I want to be able to treat everybody the same exact way. So I don't know.
Well, and I think that is one of the reasons that this is so heartwarming, is because our communities are just so terribly divided right now. Mm-hmm. And, kindness should be a unifying point. Mm-hmm. And it is a unifying point. But sometimes people get so hung up and well, I don't want to be kind to that person because then I enable their whatever it is to continue, And I've said this many times that, if I'm driving down the freeway and somebody is struggling to change their tire, I'm going to pull over and help them change the tire. I don't care who they are. I don't care where they're from. I don't care about their circumstances, their lifestyle, the decisions they've made, their political persuasion. None of that matters, because I'm just trying to help. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's how we are at MeeMaws.
Right. And I sense that. Yeah. And that is, that's an incredible story.
Well, it's just easier. It's honestly easier.
It is.
It is honestly easier
Yeah.
to be like, I love you, and I don't care what you do at home.
Well, right,
Like,
and that is, I mean, that is right, and that is kind of the point. Is yeah, I love you, and my opinions are just not relevant. I
No.
mean, whatever my thought is, it just doesn't matter. Yeah,
we
so,
teach our kids. Our son just gave $10 to a houseless person in Pendleton, and some people are like, why would you teach him to do that? It's just feeding their addiction.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's our job as people of Christ to give the blessing. It's not our job to tell that person how to spend that blessing.
Yeah.
And so maybe that $10 was what that person needed to
Yeah.
switch them to get off the addiction.
Yeah.
And so we need to stop trying to control how our blessings are spent or used. We need
Yeah.
to just give.
yeah.
There we go.
Hey, well, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, glad you're here.
Yeah.
Yep, you want to get us out
Let's
of here?
do it. On this day, February 6, 1778, the Treaty of Amity and Commerce and the Treaty of Alliance are signed in Paris between the United States and France. The first treaties ever negotiated between the United States and France. 1819 on this day, Stamford Raffles founds Singapore as a British trading post. 1894 on this day, the bottle opener is patented by American inventor William Painter. 1935 BC, a very important, a famous game was put on sale for the very first time. What was it? 1935. It's an old game.
Game was put on sale?
Yeah.
Monopoly.
Yeah.
I was
That
gonna
was too easy, man.
No, it
I was going
like-
to say Monopoly too.
1952, Queen Elizabeth II succeeds King George VI to the British throne and is proclaimed Queen of the United Kingdom. Man, she was queen for a long time.
A long
time. 1987. I was 8 years old in 1987 BC. And that was when they finally outlawed smoking in federal buildings. I remember riding around in a car when I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
No car seat, cigarette smoke just rolling out the window. You know what I mean? Like, it's so different nowadays. 1998 on this day, Washington National Airport is renamed Ronald Reagan National Airport. 2018, Elon Musk's company SpaceX launches the Falcon Heavy, the world's most powerful rocket, into space. 2019, honeybees are able to add, subtract, and understand the concept of zero, according to research from RMT. That's nuts.
Yeah.
But they make very complex patterns. Like, if you've ever
Yeah.
looked like under a microscope at what a honeybee can do, it's quite amazing, actually. On this day, the #1 movie in America in 1995, Legends of the Fall. And then the quote of the day comes from Jimmy Carter. The bond of our common humanity is stronger than the divisiveness of our fears and prejudices. One more time. The bond of our humanity is stronger than the divisiveness of our fears and prejudices.
Good.
Yeah.
Good message for today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of thought so too.
Hey, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Yeah.
Thank
appreciate
you for
it.
having us.
Yeah. All righty. Hey, we'll see you next Tuesday, and we'll plan on starting on time. See you soon.